Totals for week 14. Total expenses were $886 at $1.95 per mile. Total revenue was $860 at $1.89 per mile. That brought our net settlement to negative $26 at 6 cents per mile. Welcome back to Trucking the Seven Seas. This is episode number 93, and in this episode, we're going to go over week 14 of running my own authority. For this week, we take a couple of days off to go play in the World Series of Poker. I do not win. I don't want to talk about it. And then after we get back on the road, we take a short load from Las Vegas to California before taking a longer load from Los Angeles to Indianapolis. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I started this channel in order to show exactly what truck drivers make. We started as a company driver, working for Night Transportation, moved on to a lease operator, working for Night Transportation, then an owner-operator, working for Landstar, and now we are an owner-operator, running our own authority. I show all the loads I take, what the revenue is, what the expenses are, and what my net cash flow is, and I compile all of this information that I put into a spreadsheet that I share with you at the end of every video. So if this is a topic that interests you, follow the channel. But before we get into things, I wanted to take a moment to show you guys how easy it is to factor a load through OTR Solutions. So I've been using OTR Solutions since I got my own authority to factor my loads, and I have their fuel card as well, so I'm using that as well. But some of you guys were asking about how easy it is to factor a load through them, so I'm going to go ahead and just break off and show you how to factor a load using a load I actually factored last week. So let's do it. Okay, so this is the OTR Solutions app. Using this app, you can factor your loads, and you can also reload your fuel card and do a bunch of other stuff with it. In this video, I'm just going to show you how to factor a load and how easy it is. Now, I am going to hide some information on this. Nothing is too bad, but there are, like, CH Robinson has their MC number on there and stuff like that. And, I mean, you can find that information, but I'm just going to hide it. I'm also going to hide things like the load number and stuff like that. It's not necessarily, like, confidential. It's just not something I would want to post publicly. So let's get into it. So at the bottom there, you're going to see 4 tabs. You got the dashboard, the broker check, the invoices, and the fuel finder. So for this episode, I'm just going to show you how to factor an actual load. So what you would want in this instance is you want to go to invoices, which is currently where we're at right now. And then once you're in invoices, you can see a bunch of other selections at the top: request advance, at invoice, or pre-built. You also see a load I factored with CH Robinson before this one. So you can see the amount right there. I factored a load for $3,300. That was last week's episode, actually. So that's what that one's about. And I'm going to factor another load that I did last week, which was the San Bernardino load to St. George, Utah. So in order to do that, you would just click up here. You would just hit add invoice. And then after you add invoice, it'll take you to the next page. Okay, so after you hit add invoice, it'll take you to this page. And on this page, you can see a number of options there. You got customer, line haul, invoice number, load number, and the lane, and a bunch of other add accessorials or add paperwork. So just quickly going through it, customer, that's whatever the broker is. So that's not the customer that you picked up the load from. That's the broker. So you would type in whatever broker you're using, CH Robinson, TQL, whatever, and you would just type that in. We're going to do it here in a second, but I'm just going over it. And then line haul, that's the amount that the load paid. So if the load paid $12.50, you would type in $12.50 in that. And then the invoice number, this is just whatever invoice you have filed with OTR. So if this is your 20th load you factored, you would put invoice number 20 in that section right there. Load number, every broker will assign you a load number. So you'll just type in that load number right there, whatever it may be, and you'll just get that from the broker. It usually comes in an email, and you would just type that number in right there. The lane, pretty self-explanatory, pickup and delivery. So whatever city you picked the load up from, and then whatever city you delivered it in. And then add accessorials, that would be like a lumper fee. So if you had lumper charges, you would put that in there, and then anything like that. And then paperwork is the BOL and the confirmation sheet that the broker sent you. So you would put the BOL in the add paperwork section, and then you would put the confirmation sheet that the broker will send you in that section as well. All right, so to start off with, the first thing you're going to want to do is find your customer, i.e. the broker. So in this instance, my broker was CH Robinson. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on that and then search CH Robinson. So you search whatever broker that you use for that load, and then you might have a couple pop up here. And usually it's pretty clear. In this one instance, you got two. You got CH Robinson's Brokerage Express and just regular CH Robinson. I know that in this instance, I want just regular C.H. Robinson. But if you ever get 2 or 3 that pop up and you're not sure which one to use, you have an account manager. So you'll be assigned an account manager at OTR Solutions, and they can tell you which one to pick. It's usually pretty clear. This one can be a little bit confusing, but I know it's C.H. Robinson. And if you ever get a little confused here, you can just send your account manager an email, and they'll be able to help you out. All right, so all I did there was I just clicked C.H. Robinson, the bottom one, and it auto-populated in the customer section. Again, I'm just going to go ahead and hide the MC number and all that good stuff. It is public information and easy to find, but I'm not going to post it here. So if you see some information that's hidden, I'm just hiding the information. So that's what's going on there. All right, then scrolling on down, you see line haul there. So again, this is just whatever you booked the load for, whatever the amount you agreed to haul the load for the broker. In this instance, it was $12.50, so I'm just going to type in $12.50 in the line haul section. So moving on to invoice number, this is just however many loads you have factored through OTR Solutions. So for instance, if it's your very first load factoring through OTR Solutions, you would just put 1 there. If it's your second load factoring, you'd put 2. If it's your 20th factored load, you'd put 20, and so on and so forth. So whatever that number would be, you would just type that in right there. And in my instance, this is the 17th load I factored with OTR Solutions. And then again, just load number. This is whatever load number the broker assigned you. This will be a custom number. It'll be in your email. It's not hard to find. They're very clear when they send you that. But you would just type that number in right there. Again, I'm going to hide it because it's not really something I would want to post publicly. So I'm just going to type in my load number right there, but it will be hidden. All right, after you get your load number in there, next is the lane. So this is just wherever you picked up the load and wherever you dropped it. In this one, I picked it up in San Bernardino, California, and I dropped it in St. George, Utah. So you just go ahead and type that into both sections right there. Now, sometimes the spelling will kind of get in your way here. So St. George, I didn't know whether to type ST dot or just the actual word. So I had to try a couple of times, but I have yet to encounter a town or city that does not eventually pop up in here. But you might have to screw around with it a little bit. All right, then for the final stage, what you need to do is you need to add accessorials or paperwork. In this instance, I didn't have any limper fees or anything like that, so there were no accessorials, but you always need to add paperwork, so you would need to add the bill of lading and the confirmation sheet that the broker sent you. And every broker will send you a confirmation sheet showing what the line haul is and what the load number is and all that stuff. So you will need to attach that, so make sure you do that. All right, so what you're seeing right now is this is the bill of lading. Again, I'm hiding it, but I'm kind of showing you just how the actual app works. So I'm not showing you who the shipper is or anything like that, so it's just blocked out right now. So that's what that's about. But once you select this, it'll make you crop the bill of lading. So it's pretty simple and pretty standard. You just crop the bill of lading to approximately the size of the sheet, and then you just hit done. And when you do that, it does not need to be perfect. It just needs to be fairly close. So just get it as close as you can, and that's good enough. And then again, for the final step, you just hit add paperwork, and then you put the confirmation that the broker sent you. All right, so I'm hiding the file name because the file name is also the load number in this instance. So I'm just hiding it, but all that is just the confirmation sheet that the broker sent me. So that's all that is. So once you have those two things attached and you've done everything there as far as the line haul, invoice, load number, and all that good stuff, you just hit submit. All right, then after you hit submit, this page will pop up showing you that they have received your invoice. And then assuming everything is good, assuming they don't need any further information, you should get paid within 24 to 48 hours, generally speaking. Now, that does vary on weekends. Like if there's a holiday weekend, they might be a little slower. But I can tell you in this particular invoice I sent, I think I got paid in like 12 hours or something like that. It was very fast. And that was just regular ACH payment. It wasn't like I didn't pay extra to get it paid fast. It was very quick on this one. I think it was maybe 12 or 16 hours, somewhere in that range. It was very fast. Now, that's not normal. Usually it's like 24 to 48 hours, so full transparency here. And it can take a little longer if you do it over the weekend. But in general, they're very fast. And in this instance, I got paid within about, I think it was like 12 hours or somewhere in that range. So it was extremely fast. And that is how you factor a load with OTR Solutions. But with all that said, that St. George, Utah load that I just factored was where we left off. So I dropped the load in St. George, Utah, and then went and played in the World Series of Poker a little bit. did not win. So just took a couple of days off, just hung out in Vegas, and then played a couple tournaments and lost. So there's that. But anyways, after I played the tournaments, it was a Monday. Woke up Monday and I was looking to find a load going pretty much anywhere. I was fine going any region. So I was looking around and I was debating whether just to simply deadhead to Los Angeles, which is fine. The Vegas market is decent, but the Los Angeles market is still really good. So far, I have not seen a rate drop in Los Angeles due to the tariffs. So just be aware of that. The rates in Los Angeles that I've been seeing are still very good. You can still get out of there for $2+ per mile, depending on the range as far as you're going. So I was looking around and I was trying to find something out of Las Vegas, so I didn't have to go to Los Angeles. It's kind of a pain to drive there, but I was looking around and made quite a few offers out there, but no bites. So I think I put out like 5 to 10 offers on various loads going to various areas. Some a little longer, some a little shorter, but nobody was biting. So I started to realize that the market wasn't very good in Las Vegas on that particular day. So I was like, all right. So I was looking around, and there was one load that was posted, and it's a regular load. They do like 10 to 15 loads a day, according to the broker, that go out per day with this load. So this one was going from, I'll just put it right here. It's going from Blue Diamond, Nevada, which is just outside Las Vegas, to McFarland, California. And it was gypsum, so it's like a fertilizer type of chemical for farms, stuff like that. And I was going to McFarland, California, which is Bakersfield. And interestingly enough, I think this was one of the first loads I ever hauled as a truck driver. So I think this was like the third load I have ever hauled as a truck driver. I was with my trainer when I first hauled this thing like 4 years ago. So this mine has been going and operating for like a long time. So I was actually very familiar with it, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll grab that. So I thought that was kind of fascinating. This was a first come first serve load, pickup and drop. So I'm like, okay, I can do that. And McFarland is about 100 miles away from Los Angeles. So I was like, yeah, okay, I can do that. That'll get me a little bit closer to Los Angeles. It didn't pay all that good, but I was like, all right, I'll try this. It's the first one of the first loads I ever hauled, and I'm like, okay, give it a shot. So that's what I ended up booking, and yeah, first load I ever hauled. And now we are going to McFarland, California. And after we get to McFarland, California, I was just planning on deadheading to Los Angeles, which is about 100 miles away. But for now, let's go to McFarland, California.
Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, well, I don't wanna jinx it, baby.
All right, so I got to McFarland, California, to the receiver, and boy, was there a huge line. So that was a little upsetting. When I booked this thing, well, when I was with my trainer on this load like 4 years ago, I remembered it, and when I did it back then, there was no line whatsoever. So we just showed up, unloaded, and it was very easy. So I mean, you just saw the video. That's how they unload everyone, where they just drop the trailer and then they just kind of crank it up and then just shake it, and then the dust just sort of flows out. They do have a washout there, so you don't get a dusty trailer. So that was kind of interesting. But unfortunately, it did take like 5 hours to get unloaded, so I did get a little bit of detention for it, but that wasn't good. So I got there at like 8 a.m. or something like that, and I didn't get out till like 12 to like noon or 1 p.m. or something like that. And then I had to deadhead to Los Angeles. So that pretty much killed the day. And the more I do these short loads, the more I'm just like not really about them, because like when this kind of stuff happens, it just kills an entire day. So I booked the load on Monday, right? Drove it Monday afternoon, got there Monday morning, dropped it, got out of there at like 1, and then drove into Los Angeles. By the time I got to Los Angeles, it was like 4 p.m. So this load effectively killed 2 days for only like $700. So, I mean, when these short to medium loads work out, they work out really well. But when they don't work out, it just kills you. So that's pretty much what happened here. Now I was able to find a load that picked up at what was it was supposed to pick up at like midnight or something like that, but they said I could arrive early and grab it. So I drove into California to Ontario and tried to pick up the load, but they're like, yeah, it's actually not going to be ready for like another 2 days. So I did get a truck order not used for that. So that was the following load after this. But in the end, this load wasn't worth it, and I should have just deadheaded straight to Los Angeles from Las Vegas. I tried to get cute with it, and it didn't work out so well in my favor, so I effectively, that load to McFarland effectively killed 2 days. And the more I do these short to medium loads, the more I'm like, I might just start doing the long term stuff because it just runs a lot smoother, and I like doing them I like doing the long OTR loads anyway. So I don't know about these short loads anymore. But anyways, after that McFarland, California load, I then went ahead and I booked a very long load. So the load was going from Ontario, California to Greenwood, Indiana, which is Indianapolis. But it actually is going to deliver on Saturday, and I just got done delivering it. So because the weekend's Friday, this episode is only going to have that one load, which is the McFarland load on it, and the Greenwood, Indiana load is not going to make the paycheck. So we're going to go ahead and get into the spreadsheet right now. All right, so let's go ahead and cover week 14. For week 14, we did one load. In that one load, we got 454 miles, paid a total of $710 at $1.89 per mile, and we also had a truck order not used in there. Fuel expenses, fueled up 2 times. In those 2 times, we paid $766 at 34 cents per mile, and there were no maintenance expenses this week. Other expenses, tolls, 78, scales, 34, for a total of $112 at 25 cents per mile. Fixed costs, our email subscription came in at $7.20 at 2 cents per mile. Totals for week 14, total expenses were $886 at $1.95 per mile. Total revenue was $860 at $1.89 per mile. That brought our net settlement to negative $26 at 6 cents per mile. All right, so caveats for the week. The big one, we only got the Blue Diamond to McFarland load in. As already discussed, I took a long load from Ontario to Greenwood, Indiana. The load did not make the paycheck, so there's roughly $4,000 that are effectively missing from this. So I booked the load from Ontario to Greenwood for $4,000. So, and I basically did the whole thing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, delivered it Saturday, and then that was that. So there's about $4,000 that is not on this paycheck, and next week is going to be a seriously juiced paycheck. So I expect next week to be really good, assuming I don't have a breakdown or something like that. So just be advised of that. This week is extremely short because there's about $4,000 of revenue missing. So there's that. Okay, so fuel expenses. We fueled up 2 times this week, but these 2 fuel ups were for the Greenwood load. So you notice I fueled up in Oklahoma and Arizona. So that is on the way to Greenwood. However, I fueled up on this paycheck for what is going to be next week's load. So that's what's going on there, and it resulted in a high fuel bill essentially. So just be advised of that. This isn't totally accurate because most of the fuel ups, in fact, basically all of the fuel was done for next week's load. I added this new column here. So this is what I'm saving using OTR's fuel card. So I'm using the OTR fuel card, and I'm using their factoring services. And you can see my savings right there. So this is just what I saved off of the price of a pump. So $55 were saved this week. This one right here was a TA fuel up right there, and this one was a Maverick fuel up. So you can see the savings right there, and it varies from pump to pump. But in this instance, and in this week, I saved $55 using OTR's fuel card. So that's what that new column there is about. I'm just going to start posting whatever I'm saving using the OTR fuel card. Okay. Then maintenance, we're on a roll. So I'd managed to not pop a tire this week or last week. So we're doing pretty good. So knock on wood, haven't popped a tire in a couple of weeks. So we're doing much better. Okay, and then other expenses, a couple of things came in. Tolls came in at $78. So I'm guessing that's probably when I was running a Texas or something like that. They tend to settle like weeks later. So that's what's going on there. And then scales for $34, $34. I scaled twice, and then I reweighed, rescaled it. So that's what that's about. came in at $112 at 25 cents per mile. I did not factor any loads with OTR Solutions this week. That was last week. I might keep factoring my CH Robinson loads going forward. It's just useful to have a factoring company in your back pocket. So I might just keep factoring my CH Robinson's load and not factor my TQL loads. I haven't decided yet, but this week I did not factor any loads with OTR Solutions. And then in terms of fixed cost, I mean, just a $7 email subscription. So I have a professional looking email. Basically nothing for 2 cents per mile, and that was it. Okay, yeah, and then scrolling down, guys, you can see the totals there. Basically nothing. Again, there's $4,000 of running that aren't on this paycheck. So if you were to add $4,000 to this, so let's go 48.60 instead, I would have made close to $4,000 this week. However, the next week we'll have that $4,000 on it, and I'm guessing next week will be a pretty banger week, assuming I don't have a maintenance issue or something like that, because it's just going to be completely juiced with an extra $4,000 of revenue. So that's what's going on there. This week basically didn't make anything, but the reason why I didn't make anything is because the main load I took for the week didn't make the paycheck. So that's what's going on there. Technically a bad week, but not really. There's an extra 2,000 miles and $4,000 that are missing from this paycheck. All right, so that was week 14, and now we're going to go over totals since starting the program. So let's do it. All right, total since starting the program, we have driven a total of 33,494 miles. Total expenses have been $51,559 at $1.54 per mile, and that is my cost per mile. Total revenue is $59,726 at $1.78 per mile. That brings our total profit loss to $88,167 at 24 cents per mile, and all of these loads are dry van. All right, so there's the totals since starting my own authority. So you might be looking at this and wondering why the expenses are so high. Why is it $1.54 per mile? And the reason why it's $1.54 per mile is if you scroll up. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep scrolling all the way up here to the very top. You will see my startup costs. So these are the startup costs to get my authority active. Now, I made a video on that a few months ago. So if you're interested and want to see a breakdown of that, you can just watch that video. I'm not going to do it here. But the big ones are basically insurance cost me $6,000, the DMV fees cost me $2,400, and my trailer down payment cost me almost $4,000. And in the end, it took $18,000 to get my authority active. So what I'm going to do, just for theoretical purposes, is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete that startup cost right there. Now it absolutely counts, but just to show you what a typical week would look like without startup costs, I'm going to go ahead and delete it. And I'm just going to scroll all the way back down, and then we are going to go over my totals without the startup costs. So let's do it. All right, totals without the startup costs. Total expenses are $33,302 at 99 cents per mile, and that is my cost per mile without startup costs. Total revenue is $59,726 at $1.78 per mile, and that brings our total profit loss to $26,424 at 79 cents per mile without startup costs. Okay, so there's my totals without startup costs. So we're pulling in just about 80 cents per mile without startup costs, which is not good. There have been some serious maintenance issues in the last few weeks that have slowed me way down and cost me quite a bit. So that is very relevant. And then also there's $4,000 missing from this week's paycheck. So if you bump that out and you kind of minus out the maintenance issues that I've been having a lot of recently, it gets a little bit better. But so far, 79 cents per mile, not looking too hot, and hopefully that improves. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over averages and other information without the startup costs. And this just shows a bunch of other information that I think is very relevant. If I put the startup costs back in there, all of this gets extremely skewed, so we're going to do it without the startup costs. So let's do it. All right, so averages and other information without the startup costs. Average weekly paycheck is $1,868. Average weekly miles is 2,368 miles. Total fuel costs have been $13,544 at 40 cents per mile. Total gallons used has been 4,267 gallons at $3.17 per gallon. Total maintenance costs have been $7,409 at 22 cents per mile. If I kept this up for a 52-week period, I'd make $97,000 and drive 123,000 miles. Total revenue has been $59,726 at $4,200 per week. Total deadhead has been 2,300 miles at 6.95% of total mileage. Been employed 99 days or 14 weeks. Taken 7 days off, 92 days on duty, taking 41 total loads. Average load length is 817 miles. And if we had a theoretical $500 truck payment, we would be making 58 cents per mile. Okay, yeah, so a couple of things to go over here with these averages. This one right here, the maintenance expenses are still very high. So 22 cents per mile is not normal. That should fall probably around 15 cents per mile when everything's said and done. So I'm looking at, about 7 cents more per mile than I would expect over the course of the year. So this is pretty high for right now. And there is the cost that I've accrued with these maintenance costs, so an extra 7 cents per mile. But there's also something more important, which is time loss. I think I'm down like 4 or 5 days due to maintenance right now, so fairly significant. Like the cost is one thing, but also just the time loss recently with these maintenance issues has been probably the bigger factor here. So right now, the reason why my total profit loss right now is so low, I would blame it mostly on these maintenance expenses. They're not only costing me around 7 cents per mile, but they've also cost me about 5 days of running. So that's been a problem. So that's what's going on there, and that's really what's kind of slowing us down recently is the maintenance issues. Okay, and some other stuff here. Right now, all of these averages are not good. There's still not a lot of data in this spreadsheet, actually. I mean, it looks like there is, but there's only 14 weeks. And basically, usually what happens is over the course of like 30 or 40 weeks, you get enough data to see what you're actually going to be making. And right now, I think all of these numbers are extremely low. Well, I know they're extremely low. Basically, I've taken quite a few days off due to maintenance issues and just had a bunch of problems with that. So all of these averages are fairly low. And I've been watching this, for instance, this 52-week average. So this is what I would make theoretically if I kept this up for a 52-week period. And this has dropped, I think, like 30 grand theoretically on average over the last few weeks because I keep having some maintenance issues. So right now, I think this is very low. This is like the floor. And I do believe over the course of the next few weeks, all of these numbers are going to start increasing pretty drastically. My total profit loss is going to go up, and then my total expenses cost per mile is going to go down because these maintenance issues should start to level out. So basically what I'm getting at is I've had quite a few maintenance issues over the last month. They've slowed me down not only time-wise, but also they've cost me 7 grand. So that hurts. And again, there's still 4 grand missing from this recent week's paycheck, which is kind of relevant considering my total profit has only been like 26 grand so far. So basically, things have been slow the last few weeks, and we're not looking good for that reason. But I do believe by the end of the year, things will be looking much better on this spreadsheet. Okay, just going over a couple other things. Deadhead, pretty good, about 7%. Nothing wrong with that. Taking an average load length of 817 miles, which is decent. And I don't know, guys, these short loads just aren't serving me very well. They pay okay, but they have to go perfectly. And if they don't go perfectly, like that McFarland load where it basically cost me 2 days for $700, it just doesn't go well, right? So like if I take a 2,000-mile load and they take 10 hours to unload me or whatever, well, it's not that big of a deal because I just did 2,000 miles where I was just running straight, right? So it's just a lot simpler. Now I guess they can work out. Like I did have that one week where I ran like Texas to the Midwest back and forth, and I did it 3 times perfectly and had the best week ever. But the thing was with that week, if you remember, it was like perfect running where live unloads both ends, come, first serve. And I don't think I spent more than about 3 hours in a dock that entire week. Like the loads and unloads were super fast and everything worked out perfectly. But when it doesn't work out perfectly, you get a week like this where like, okay, there's 2 days that are just gone from your paycheck because you had a kind of crappy short load that just didn't work out. So I don't know, guys. I might just start doing the long loads and just stick with that. They're much easier, much simpler, and I think just as profitable, if not more profitable, than the medium to short loads. But we'll see. But I might just start running the long loads from now on. All right, and then the final little section here is a truck payment. So this is a $500 per week truck payment. I'll say that again. If I theoretically had a $500 per week truck payment, this is what I would be getting paid. So some of you guys keep asking where you can get a $500 per month truck payment. That's not what this calculates. This is if I had a theoretical $500 per week truck payment. So this is per week, not per month. And if I did have a $500 per week truck payment, I'd be making 58 cents per mile, which is slam dunk company driver pay. So that's not good. And it definitely needs to get better. It definitely needs to go up, and I think it will go up. Again, broken record. The maintenance issues have been slowing me down drastically, and there's $4,000 missing from this current paycheck, so that is slowing me down. But as of right now, I'd be making company driver pay, which is not good, and that definitely needs to get better, and I believe it will get better. But that's what's going on there. Okay, yeah, guys. So there is week 14. Not a good week, but again, $4,000 missing. Next week will be a very good week, assuming there's no maintenance issues or anything like that. I'm assuming to be pretty good. And I am looking basically to run after this Greenwood, Indiana load. I was looking at the rates going to actually Salt Lake City. So if you take a load from like Chicago to Salt Lake City, and then you actually just deadhead down to Los Angeles, it seems like it'll be better. Like it'll be okay. Like I was kind of looking at this, and if you take a load from, let's say, Indianapolis or Chicago, and you go to like Salt Lake City, a completely dead area, uh, it'll pay well enough that you can actually just deadhead down to Los Angeles pretty profitably. So I might do that, and we'll see how that math works out. But I'm looking at the math, and like, okay, a load going from Indianapolis, like say directly back to Los Angeles, pays like $1.25 per mile or $1.30 per mile. Or I can just take a load from like Indianapolis to Salt Lake City and then deadhead down to Los Angeles, and the load to Salt Lake City and the deadhead a rate per mile equates to more like $1.40 to $1.50 per mile. So I was looking at that, and half of it would be empty, right? So my fuel was better. So I don't know. I might give that a shot and just start running like a load to Salt Lake City, or maybe like Twin Falls, Idaho, or something like that, and then just deadhead down to Los Angeles. And I might try that next week because it seems like the math works out a little better than just taking a load directly to Los Angeles for an absolutely trash rate. So we'll see. But that's my plan for next week, and we'll see how it goes. But that'll pretty much do it for this episode, guys. Thank you for watching. If you're interested in this spreadsheet or any of the other spreadsheets I've done in the past, you can find them in the About section down below. After you find them, you can just open them up and then just hit File, Download, and then you can download them to a Microsoft Excel sheet, and you're free to use them however you please. And if you need a fuel card or a factoring company or both, you might check out OTR Solutions. I'm currently using them, and there is a link in the About section down below as well. So if you're interested in using them, please use that referral link. It does help me out a ton, and I would greatly appreciate it. And if you're interested in my other channel, you can find it in the About section down below as well. It's called Windshield Thoughts. It's just where I look out the windshield and give you my thoughts on various topics, usually truck related, but we're going to branch out from there. So if you're interested in that channel as well, it's called Windshield Thoughts, and feel free to follow me there as well. But that'll pretty much do it for this episode. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.